أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بفضل الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله والحمد حقه كما يستحقه حمدا كثيرا. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلق الله أجمعين محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. وإذا قيل لهم لا تفسدوا في الأرض قالوا إنما نحن مصلحون ألا إنهم هم المفسدون ولكن لا يشعرون. And when they are told, do not cause corruption in the land, they say we are the reformers. Indeed, they are the corruptors, yet they sense it not. The people that cause corruption and mischief do not sense what they are doing because they've come to a point where they've convinced themselves that they are doing something right. If you tell a lie enough times, it begins to become the truth. Have you ever noticed if you were to get someone and put them on a lie detector and you attach them to a lie detector, any normal person, if they are to lie, you would get signals when they lie. But when someone becomes proficient at lying, there's no way you can detect it. Because for them, a lie is the truth. There's no difference. There's no difference at all. And that's why you find there's so much hubris and arrogance when it comes, for example, to atheists. That they are so blatant and so reckless and flagrant when they say there is no God. Yet they cannot prove this. They tell you, we can't prove there is no God, but there is no God. And Allah Azza wa Jal says something here, that these people know. They know deep within. The mischief makers know. They don't sense it because they've made themselves reach a point where they don't sense it anymore. But inside themselves they know. وَجَحَدُوا بِهَا وَاسْتَيْقَنَتْهَا أَنفُسُهُم. That sometimes they deny something. People deny something that is true, but inside they know it's a reality. They know it's a reality and there is no doubt about this. This world was made as a proving ground for the next world. Those that stick by the guidelines in this world are the ones that achieve the next world. Those that seek corruption in this world do not achieve anything at all. Not only do the corruptors suffer a bad end in the hereafter, but even in this world. Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Quran, وَانظُرْ كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الْمُفْسِدِينَ. Allah Azza wa Jal says, look at the what? The consequence the outcome, the result of who? Of the corruptors. For example, we'll look at some corruptors and what they do and how they justify it. For example, someone that deals drugs. How do they justify it? Some they'll say, well, someone's going to deal the drugs, it might as well be me. Why should I let someone else get the money? Another argument is, and I've heard this, honest, these are arguments that exist. I've heard someone say, I sell drugs in our area to make sure that our community don't buy them. You know, this guy is a Sharif Mecca. This guy is that honorable, he doesn't want to sell drugs to our community. This is the Wahhabi thought. You know, they sell, you only sell drugs to kuffar. Mentality that they have. They justify what they do. Even the latest fad been going on, I hear it, some people say marijuana is halal. These people have got fuqaha. These are fuqaha, these new age jurists. You know, they probably studied in Oxford Street or Darlinghurst, and all of a sudden, he says, I am Ayatollah al-Uzma, marijuana is halal. Where did you get this from? مَا لَكُمْ كَيْفَ تَحْكُمُونَ. How do you judge in your own way, in your own method? Now the thing is, what always happens to drug dealers? They either end up dead or they end up in jail. And the ones that you see that are still in the street, they're usually the snitches. They just keep ratting everyone out, so they live for so long. But they don't live a good life because they're even hated by their own kind. No one likes them. A bit like in the old days, if you did non-union labor, they used to call you a scab. So if you actually used to work, the people that used to work with you would make your life so bad. I remember there was a scab I worked with once, a long time ago. He actually killed himself. He put a hose into the back of the car and he poisoned himself with carbon monoxide because of how bad they treated him. And this is how they would be treated with the people around them. A bent police officer, a corrupt police officer. Once again, their claim for doing it, if you ever see any police officer that is corrupt, their claim is, we don't get paid enough and we do such a dirty job. This is what has led us. People look for an excuse every time they go corrupt. And their end, you watch at their end, where they end up. When they end up in jail, they don't end up in the same jail as the general population. They put them with the rock spiders. You know, rock spiders are the pedophiles. So they're categorized with the pedophiles and all the ghastly and unsightly and outlandish of God's creation that even the criminals themselves don't want to associate with. The corrupt police officer is placed with them for the rest of their life. And they're seen in this manner. They're not trusted after that at all. Also, a ruling dictator is corrupt. And their claim is to what they're doing is okay. Why? And you've heard this. You probably all heard this. They say, this is what the people need. Have you ever heard this when people say, the Arab needs someone like Saddam? Have you ever heard people say that? They say that's the only way they are ruled. Would you like Saddam ruling over you? Why do you want to apply something on other people? Apply it on you. Do you want Saddam to rule over you? People want a dictator, and the dictators use this argument. They want to rule the masses because the masses need to be ruled this way. As Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi, when he first took power, he said how the heads have become ripe to be cut off. This was in his inauguration speech. And he wasn't even the Khalif. He was only the governor of Medina, and he was already talking like a ruler. He was talking in this manner. And he had the audacity to speak in this manner. And let's look at their end. Do you remember the fascist by the name of Benito Mussolini, who was one of the causes of World War II, who aligned with Nazi Germany? Benito Mussolini was taken through the streets with his wife. They were tortured through the streets. They cut off certain parts of their anatomy, and then they hung them up in the street for everyone to watch. Muammar al-Qaddafi, remember Muammar al-Qaddafi? Muammar al-Qaddafi, they dragged him through the street, they impaled him with a pipe. As he was walking, then they killed him. And they left his body like a dog for everyone to come and witness it. Saddam was dragged out like a rat from its hole. Then was able to experience his children being killed, and he wasn't allowed to mourn over them. And he had a bit of a kangaroo court. His trial wasn't the fair, because you really couldn't do a fair trial with Saddam. Where do you start? You know? Where do you start? Where's the face of the fire? You're not going to be able to convict him properly. So what they did is they took him on the day of Adha. Remember, it was a good day. We were in the Hajj. And it was a good celebration when we heard that Saddam had been hung. And he'd been hung, and everyone started crying and weeping over him. His lovers, obviously. Those that want to be placed with him, inshallah they are. They wept over this. And they were upset that Saddam was killed. But Allah Azza wa Jall's sunnah, His tradition always works. What He says will happen. Even any politician that you see today making a personal benefit from their post. If you take a look now, Peter Dutton that's refusing to let these Tamil immigrants remain, but he allowed other immigrants that he had a personal benefit from to remain. See, these people, they get exposed. They don't stay like this. Allah exposes corruptors. Do you remember that reporter, just before I go on to this point, remember that reporter that stayed outside Punchbowl Boys High to get that school principal sacked? He was there all the time, chasing him, following him up, until he got him sacked. Allah didn't leave him long. 3 weeks later, he was caught out as a pedophile. Exposed, and the whole world found out about it. Because eventually, these corruptors are found out. And these politicians that take these positions, I'm not talking about politicians on the realm of senators and ministers, even councillors, local councillors. There was a councillor 4 years ago in Hurstville. His name is Con Hindi. You know, Lebanese. He purchased the house for his uni student daughter. In 12 days, she sold it for a profit of $330,000. $330,000. This is the corruption that exists. But like this, all these politicians, they eventually get caught out and they end up with a bad end. Anyone in a position of trust, whether you are a politician or a doctor or a priest or a sheikh for that matter, you are in a position of trust. People trust you. A lawyer is in a position of trust. These people that go corrupt can affect much more than we can think. And this is why tonight we will turn to a man by the name of Shuraih al-Qadi. Shuraih al-Qadi was a judge. That's why they call him Shuraih. Al-Kindi, his name was. But they call him Al-Qadi because he was a judge. Shuraih was at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam living in Yemen. And he accepted Islam at the time of Rasulullah, but he never met Rasulullah. When the first Khalif, Abu Bakr, took power, he placed Shuraih as a justice because Shuraih had insight. He was very sound at judging, and people liked his mannerisms in court. The second Khalif left him there, Umar ibn al-Khattab. The third Khalif, Uthman bin Affan, left him there. By the time it got to Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi was already at war with Muawiyah, too busy. So someone like Shuraih was a lesser problem. He had bigger fish to fry in Muawiyah. So Shuraih remained in his post, and he was a judge. Shuraih was on a salary, or you could say a wage, of 500 dirhams a month. A dirham You want to know the difference when you hear dirham and dinar? A dirham is a silver coin. A dinar is a gold coin. So a silver coin, by looking at Australian dollar, a silver coin is less than $1. Sorry, a silver per gram is less than $1. It's 87 cents, about that. Hajjaba would know what it is. It's less than $1 a gram for silver. But gold is about 73 Australian dollars per gram. So look at the difference. The difference almost 100 times in value. And the coin weighs about 4.25 of a gram. So the value, we're looking at the ratio, let's say 90 to 1. So he is getting 500 dirhams a month. If I was to equate it to dinars, it'd be what? 5.5 dinars a month. So why am I giving you this idea? Because one day, Shuraih did something like Khan Hindi and these types of people. He went and purchased a mansion for 80 dinars. I'm a person that enjoys statistics, and numbers don't lie. When you look at any sport and the numbers say something but the result is not the same, like you're watching a boxing match and one fighter's landed 345 punches and the other's landed 100 punches. Something's not right when the guy that's landed 100 punches gets the decisions. Numbers don't lie. So if I look at statistically, Shuraih has living expenses, doesn't he? So how did he buy this? Where did he get this 80 dinars one hit? But he has witnesses that have signed that he made this purchase. So Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam questions him on this. What he says to him is something very simple. A guideline we can all live by when we want to act like this. He says, know this, O Shuraih, that in the grave, you don't have to bring up those witnesses that witnessed that you bought it for 80 dinars. It's done. As in another hadith, al-shahid wal-hakim. Allah is the judge. He is the witness and he is the judge. Al-shahid wal-hakim. He is the witness and the judge. So you don't need to bring up, hold on, oh Allah, I did purchase this house, hold on, I'll bring my witnesses. There's no need. On this day, you will witness on yourself. On this day, your mouth will be sealed. Allah on this day will put a seal on your mouth, and your hands and your feet will speak. Every part of your body will speak as to what it has done. So Shuraih, Imam Ali alayhi salam now has given him what? He's admonished him, warned him. Why? لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ. Because sometimes you admonish someone, they go back. This is the value of haram wealth. If I acquire or accumulate something that is forbidden, it comes back. Shuraih ignored the Imam's warning. He didn't take heed to the Imam's caution. Many years passed by and Shuraih had another role to play. Many years went by and the time came for Shuraih to play his main role. Shuraih lived to 107 to 110 years. He lived for a long time. And that time brings us to when Imam Hussein alayhi salam had received letters from the people of Kufa. He had received 12,000 letters. In these 12,000 letters, some have one signature, some have two, some have multiple signatures. That we, the people of Kufa, give allegiance to you, O Abu Abdullah. We, the people of Kufa, are ready for you. We will support you. So the Imam sent to them. And he writes in the letter, I send to you my trustee. And when he says my trustee, he starts off by saying what? He says, Akhi, my brother. Wabna Ammi. Ibn Ammi meaning my cousin. Wa thiqati min ahli bayti. So I'm sending you my brother and my cousin and my trustee, someone I trust. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Alaikum as-salam. When I say someone's my thiqah, you know, sometimes you get a risali from a marja''s office given to someone. They say this person has permission from our office to collect hummus on my behalf. Sometimes they give you a letter that this person has got permission to undertake some affairs. They give them restricted, what they call wikili, restricted authority. But in this case, the Imam has referred to Muslim as his confidant. He's referred to him as his trustee in all affairs, by introducing him first as his brother and his cousin and a trustee from my family, Muslim ibn Aqil. This is who I have sent to you. Now when Muslim alayhi salam had arrived in Kufa, he was embraced. It was like the coming of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam to Medina. Everyone was happy to receive Muslim. The people were there to support Muslim. Why? Because everything's okay. You know, everyone's nice. When you meet people generally, how often do you meet someone that's difficult to deal with? Generally, most people you meet smile and are nice people. Scratch them a bit, then you see what they are. Do something wrong, then you see their colors. So while everything is normal, it's labbaik, we're with you all the way to death, till something goes wrong, till something turns around. And upon this is where in the equation came Ubaydullah bin Ziyad. Ubaydullah bin Ziyad was sent by Yazid to be the governor of Kufa. He wanted someone that would be as ruthless as he was in order to take this position. Because sometimes, for example, when they want to undertake an action, there are a lot of people that are wicked, but some are worse than others. If you take a look at the martyrdom of the seventh holy Imam, Al-Imam Musa ibn Ja'far al-Qadhim, salawatullahi wa salamu alayh, you take a look, Harun kept sending him from prison to prison. The governors or the wardens of the prisons refused to kill him. Each person would send him somewhere else. No one wanted to be burdened with killing the Imam. No one wanted to be known as the one that would kill him. There are people, they're evil to a certain extent, but they say, this is my limit. Then there are the ones that have no limits. Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, just to give you a background on him, his father, or his alleged father, was Ziyad ibn Abi. His alleged father didn't know who his father was. They actually called him Ziyad, the son of his father. That was his name. Could you imagine someone publicly known as Ziyad, the son of his father? Because no one knew who his father was. It wasn't until Ziyad went and beseeched Abu Sufyan. I don't know what he gave him to agree to the contract, to accept for Abu Sufyan to be the father of Ziyad. So then they began to call him Ziyad ibn Abi Sufyan, but that was only amongst the restricted circles, because everyone else continued to call him Ziyad ibn Abi. Now Ubaydullah, who claimed that Ziyad was his father, that's why in Ziyarat Ashura it says Ibn Ziyad wa Ibn Marjana. It names him by the name of his mother, because Ibn Ziyad was just a title that he was given, but people knew him by his mother's name, because his father was a question mark. So in this case, this guy came in and he already had it in for the world. And usually when people have it in for the world, they don't just kill anyone. They want to kill the best of the world. They want to kill the finest people. They don't take revenge on the ones that oppress them. If you ever take a look when a country is colonized, it's a perfect example. Take a look at when the colonials come in and colonize a country, The people that they govern torture their own people. They never turn around. Who? The empire. They never turn against the establishment. They always turn against who? Those around them. Because they always want to impress the establishment. You know, I have a friend of mine. He says, he's a lawyer. He said, when I pick the jury, there are certain races, I don't want to mention who they are. He says, when they're in the jury, I never pick them. He guess because they have it in for everyone. They have it in for everyone that's of their kind and is not part of the establishment. So these people have it for everyone that is good. So Ubaydullah took power here. And when he had taken power, he had to quash this rebellion. The people standing up with Muslim and the people in this position are going to turn against him. And who he could sway with money, he swayed with money. Who he could sway with force, he swayed with force. And who he could imprison, he imprisoned. And who he could kill, he killed. And the people began to repel from Muslim. That Muslim was praying in Masjid al-Kufa. It began, there was 30 people behind him. It went down to 3 and then 1, and eventually they were all gone. And Muslim was all alone. No one in Kufa. Imagine he was into the city where he was the guest of honor. And then they all left him. There was not a single person that would stand with him. So he walked through this city as a stranger, from place to place, looking for a refuge, looking for someone to take him in. And every house he would come to, people would close the doors. No one was interested in associating with an enemy of the state. So he came by and sat in front of the door of a woman who was a normal woman. But because of just this event, see, anything linked to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, anyone linked becomes immortalized. One of my friends, when he went to visit the shrine of Sayyida Ruqayya alayhi salam in Syria, back in the old days, we're talking about before all the wars and this, he said that when the driver took him there, he said, I just asked him, he said, do you know how old Sayyida Ruqayya was when she died? And he said, the driver said, what, 40, 50, 60? He said, no, she was 3. He said, you have built a shrine for someone that is 3 years old? And my friend said, if we found a shoe for Imam Hussein, we will build a shrine. Anything linked to Imam Hussein, we will build a shrine. Taw'a, the woman in question on this day, who was a normal woman, has been immortalized in history. Every year, when the commemoration of Muslim is brought up, because Muslims' commemoration is brought every year by everyone. He's the first martyr of the companions of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. She is remembered just for this stance. So he sat outside her house. And you know, you look outside your house, she's a believing woman. There's a strange man outside her house. She says to him, what are you doing in front of my house? He says, I would like some water to drink. So Taw'a goes inside, brings him some water to drink. Muslim drinks the water, but he remains there. He remains seated. So then she says, I've given you water. Why are you still here? She says, don't you have a family? Don't you have somewhere to go? And he says, I have no family. I'm a stranger in this town. She says, by God, who are you? He says to her, I am Muslim ibn Aqil, and the people of this town have betrayed me. She said, you are Muslim, the cousin of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Enter my house. May my mother and father be ransomed for you. And this woman kept him in the basement where she looked after him, because her son was a police officer and she was afraid that her son might come home and see him and inform the government of him, as he was the enemy of the state. She would look after him day and night. And one day her son came home He had been drinking that night. He woke up and he could see her going in and out of this basement. So he asked her, where are you going to? What are you doing? Finally, she could see that there was no point. He was going to investigate. So she said, can you keep a secret? Keep it between us. She makes him swear to God to keep this between them. And so he does. She said, we are keeping the Safir, the representative of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein in our house. He is our guest. But keep this between us. The reward, and I've already given you values right now, was 1,000 dinars for whoever would tell of the 1,000 gold coins. For whoever would tell the whereabouts of who? Of Muslim. So this son goes off happily to collect his reward. As he goes to inform of the situation, Tal'a comes in the morning to see Muslim, and she finds him in worship. And she says, can I give you anything or do anything for you? He says to her, last night I saw a dream, and in the dream I saw my uncle Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, and he was telling me, rush to us, come to us. We are waiting for you. Says, so I know I have no longer to live on this earth. You know, when someone's life has come near the end, they write a bucket list of all the things that they want to do. The awliya think of how much they can worship to make amends for the last moments of their lives. Even though these people have lived a life of righteousness and piety and they are God-fearing, they still want to make and take advantage of the last moments of their life. So he remains in worship. The moment that the news is given to Ubaydullah, Ubaydullah assembles, he mobilizes 200 horsemen. We're talking about 200 horsemen. A Muslim is on his feet. He sends them under the command of Al-Hussein ibn Numayr, who was the same guy that destroyed the Kaaba, the same guy that attacked Mecca, but this is before the event. So he sends them under his command towards Muslim. Muslim, upon hearing their arrival, is a man that has chivalry, a man that has honor and ghira towards women folk. He says, I will not allow these men to enter her house. So he comes out to fight them. He comes out to face them. And in this manner, he is fighting them in such a way, the narrators say he's flinging them off the horses. This is what the narration is written by people that are not his supporters. It becomes such a battle, because remember, this is someone that's the nephew of Amir al-Mu'minin. This is someone from the family of Abu Talib. They're known for what they can do. They can no longer overpower him. They ask for backup. So Ubaydullah bin Ziyad said, I have given you 200 horsemen and he is only a man. They say this is the man that is the nephew of Amir al-Mu'minin of Ali ibn Abi Talib. This is not just any man. So then they begin to get onto the rooftops. They no longer want to attack him face to face, and they throw fire. They attack him they light things up and they drop them down on him in order to attack him in this manner. And they set up a trap for him, a pitfall. They set up like a pit, a hole, and they've covered it, and by attacking him from the rooftops, make him move away, and they corner him till he falls in the pit. And when he falls in the pit, they all attack from the top, to the point where eventually they take him as a captive and they bring him towards the palace of Ubaydullah bin Ziyad. Upon entering, he sees a guard at the front of the palace, and he says, I would like some water to drink, because he'd been fighting the whole time. Now, when he had fallen in the pit, this is when they had taken advantage and attacked him so much they had cut his lip and his mouth, and he was bleeding profusely. So they brought him water to drink. As he came to drink from the water, blood fell into the water. And then he pushed it away and got some clean water. The second time they brought the clean water, it filled with blood from his mouth. Upon the third time, when the blood filled the cup, he knew at this point. So Allah Azza wa Jal wanted to register him fully with the companions of Abu Abdullah, he too will be killed thirsty. So he knew from this point that I do not have any sustenance of water in the dunya anymore. So they bring him up towards Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad and they say, why have you not said salam to the Amir? He says, he is not my Amir. He is not my master that I have to give him salam. Ubaydullah says, regardless of whether you give me salam or not, today is where you will meet your fate. And he orders that Muslim is to be taken to the top of the palace. And when he's taken to the top of the palace, he asks the swordsman if he could pray 2 rakat. And he begins to pray them, but he prays these 2 rakat hastily. He doesn't pray them slowly. And he says to the swordsman that I don't pray like this. I prayed them hastily to let you know that I'm not afraid. Like, I'm not taking my time to pray slowly so you can think I'm afraid of your sword. That I am ready for this martyrdom, just making one last connection with my Creator. And before he is taken, before he is killed, he turns towards the direction of Medina, of where the Imam is coming from, and he said, Assalamu alayka ya Abu Abdullah. Peace be upon you, O Abu Abdullah. Because Abu Abdullah al-Hussein is about to come into this same trap that Muslim has come into. والعاقبة للمتقين ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون وصل اللهم على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.